Screen, sir. First one. PPT on.
Good morning, students.
Morning, sir.
Yeah. Shall we start?
Yes, sir.
How many are there total? Previous class was there? Previous class was conducted or not?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. Yeah. Yesterday we actually came up to the formation of the cardiac loop. We just saw how the different bulgings are formed. Different bulgings will lead to the different parts of the heart actually. So different chambers of the heart, different vessels of the heart. So we have seen in previous class about the, just to revamp the previous thing, truncus arteriosus was the part of bulbus cordis, and even the conus was also the part of bulbus cordis. Then primitive ventricle, primitive atrium, and sinus venosus. So where the different parts seen in the heart tube. And we saw few of the arterial end and venous end. We have seen in the upper part we had arterial end which was connected through the aortic arches to the dorsal aorta. There were many aortic such arches, approximately 6 in number. Some get disappears, so that you will learn in aortic arches in a separate class. So I was just telling you the upper end was the arterial end, and the lower end was the venous end. These two we have seen, and formation of bulboventricular groove and ridge we have seen. So by formation of bulboventricular ridge, we had differentiation of vertically situated heart tube now getting converted into different chambers now. So up to here we were looking at, and once after formation of these different tubes, in further those different sinus, those the four different bulgings, that is from bulbus cordis, primitive ventricle, primitive atrium, sinus venosus, how the changes occurs here. So those changes we should see now. So these all changes usually occurs between 5th to 10th week. 5th to 10th week. So first to, like we saw in 3rd and 4th week, we saw the changes happening in the blood vessels and all. And 5th week onwards, we will see the exact appearance and formation of the heart actually. So first let us see the changes what is happening in this sinus venosus, the last part, venous end, what happens there. Let us see here. Okay, so venous end was here. This sinus venorum was actually pulled upwards. After pulling this upwards, you can see in this diagram, in this diagram, the primitive atrium and sinus venorum has totally moved above and behind the bulbous cordis and primitive ventricle here. You are seeing the same thing here. They are just due to the formation of this bulboventricular groove and ridge. This ridge formation, the sinus venorum, sinus venosus and the primitive atrium has moved all the way towards upward here. Reversely, they have been changed. Earlier, it was vertically situated. Now, this lower end has moved towards upwards here. When it is moving upwards, now I will show you a cut section exactly here between the primitive atrium and the sinus venosus. The same cut section, if you see here, you can see like this. So here you are seeing the cut section of a primitive atrium, and which is connected with the sinus venosus. So that sinus venosus actually, when it is connecting to atrium, which is called as sinoatrial orifice. Sinoatrial orifice. This sinoatrial orifice initially will be the wider opening between sinus venosus and primitive atrium. Later on, this area tried to get reduced into a small slit. This is getting converted into a small slit. Now you can see the widened sinoatrial orifice, that is sinus venosus when it is connecting to right atrium, primitive atrium, is now reduced into such a small opening now. This is the previous outline, and now it has got converted into this much small piece now. And the further it still reduces in size and becomes ovally arranged. Earlier it was flat in nature, now it is accumulated vertically. Earlier it was horizontal, now it is vertically arranged. By then you can even see the changes happening in the primitive atrium also. It was just a wide tube, now it is getting constructed over here. Small changes happening here. Along with that, this vertically situated slit now is getting converted into the venous valves. Okay, so this venous valve are now called as, one is situated towards the right side and the other one is situated towards the left side. So it is called as right venous valve and left venous valve. And above both of them, they have been merged and forming septum spurium. So these all changes has happened. That sinus venorum has become very small area at the primitive atrium connection. The same thing we had seen. We can see here also. We can see this is the posterior view to make you aware of the things. So here you are seeing the atrial chambers, and here you are seeing the primitive ventricular and bulbous cordis parts over here. And posteriorly, the sinus venorum is getting attached with the atrium here, primitive atrium here. The sinus venosus is getting attached with the primitive atrium. When it is connected, the sinus venosus, I had told you in the previous class about the connection happening towards the sinus venosus. You can see in this diagram here. In this diagram, this sinus venosus has a connection. With the different veins of the body. Here I had shown you. Okay, they include, there are three set of veins getting connected over here. First one is the vitelline veins here, then the umbilical veins and the cardinal veins. These cardinal veins are coming from the body wall. So they are actually formed by, the common cardinal vein is formed by the anterior and posterior cardinal vein. Anterior cardinal vein drains blood from the upper part of the body wall, and posterior cardinal vein drains blood from the lower part of the body of embryo. The umbilical vein is the one which is draining blood from the placenta. You can see the umbilical vein here, umbilical artery and umbilical vein you might have heard about. So this is bringing blood from the placenta towards the embryo here, and vitelline vein, they bring blood from the vitelline vein, brings blood from the primitive streak and yolk sac over here, yolk sac especially. Okay, so these three same veins, so each side we have three veins here, you're seeing the same veins are now getting converted here. You see what happens here. So this was the common cardinal vein, this is anterior cardinal vein, and this is posterior cardinal vein. Similarly, on the opposite side, you are seeing this is the right side, this is left side. Okay, and you can see here the vitelline veins which are bringing from yolk sac, and here the umbilical veins. These two are umbilical veins which are bringing blood from placenta, and this is the cardinal veins. Now, among these all veins, okay, there are some regression of the veins happens here. These like both the umbilical vein will be lost here, and the left vitelline vein will lose, right will remain. Okay, like that, even the cardinal vein, anterior cardinal vein will get regressed. So like that, these all veins will get regressed, and they lead to form the different venous systems over here. Okay, you can see already some of the parts over here. This was the vein very closely coming between the atrioventricular groove over here. So this common cardinal vein, which is called as duct of Cuvier, left common cardinal vein. Here you will have a right common cardinal vein, left common cardinal vein, are also called as left duct of Cuvier, which is now getting converted into coronary sinus. You see the coronary sinus. Coronary sinus was the vein which was draining blood from the heart itself. So this is found now. Similarly, when there were two anterior cardinal veins were there, a part of left side was regressed here, During that time, a small oblique connection happens between the left and right side of the anterior cardinal veins. So that remains continuously and gets enlarged, and later on get converted into left brachiocephalic vein. You are seeing the left brachiocephalic vein here. Okay. Similarly, like there are many veins forming here. I'm just showing you few. The blood vessels we will study in a different topic. Just I will show you here some of the important veins which are actually the part of right atrium. So I am talking on this. They are the veins which I am talking now are the one to form the posterior wall of atrium. So for that reason I am talking over here. Okay, so now the obliquely situated oblique connection of anterior cardinal vein now get converted into left brachiocephalic vein. The right anterior cardinal vein will become right brachiocephalic vein. The right duct of Cuvier will now become superior vena cava. You see all these changes are happening over here. So superior vena cava came here, and similarly the vitelline vein, the right vitelline vein remained here. Okay, that itself will get converted into inferior vena cava, suprahepatic part is formed here now. So we saw so far formation of inferior vena cava, formation of superior vena cava, right brachiocephalic vein, left brachiocephalic vein, and the coronary sinus. These are the veins formed just very close to the atrium itself over here. So the same thing here, we call it as fate of sinus venosus, we call it as. The same thing what I was telling you, inferior vena cava, left brachiocephalic vein, and the superior vena cava, oblique vein of left, this thing, that duct of Cuvier I was talking you, and similarly the arch of azygous vein and coronary sinus are actually formed over here. Now I will come to the exact atrium, how they formed here. Exactly the atrium, how they have been formed here. Now let us see. As the changes are happening, blood is already coming over here. So usually you see the left atrium in the initial part of development in 5th to 6th week. Okay, left atrium, left sided atrium, it is not actually divided now. Right and left, they are not divided here. We are just having a single chamber here. Both are continuously communicated. By this time, left side it is more enlarged. At this stage, the left horn, the sinoatrial node, what I was telling you, sinoatrial orifice, what I was telling you, will be getting shifted towards the right side due to the overload of blood coming from here. Okay. Similarly, you see in the next diagram, it is just getting enlarged as compared to the previous diagram over here. So while these all changes happening here, there starts appearing an septum intermedium. This septum intermedium is the septum which is formed between the atrium and ventricle. Between the atrium, this is the atrium, and ventricles are cut over here. You are seeing the atrioventricular orifice. In the initial stage, there will be a common wide atrioventricular canal present over here. Wide, okay. Later on, there are 4 cushions start getting developed here. 1 from anterior, 1 from posterior, and 2 from sides. Those cushions, you are seeing the same cushions over here, okay. Superior, inferior, and middle and lateral endocardial cushions start developing here like this, okay. As these cushions get developed here, there we will have a complete fusion of these atrioventricular septum develops. Atrioventricular septum develops. So this is the endocardial cushion has happened over here, okay. By that way, the opening which was very larger, the common atrioventricular canal which was larger, now becomes a small 2 canals over here. Finally, it will get divided into 2 canals for the right and left sided separately, and between them forms the septum intermedium. So this septum is actually the one which is formed by the endocardial cushioning from the atrioventricular septum, which is called as septum intermedium. Okay, this medium is actually forming over here. You can see here this layer, not this one. This is actually interventricular septum. I'm talking about this septum. So here the opening is actually getting divided over here. Okay, so this now the atrioventricular septum is formed here. In the same diagram, you are completely seeing the both the orifices between right and left atrium and ventricles. We are seeing a common slip, which in further process will get divided into right atrioventricular orifice and left atrioventricular orifice, which will get converted in the future into bicuspid wall and tricuspid wall, the mitral wall, what we call it as. Okay. Now we framed the endocardial cushioning here. Endocardial cushion. This is the diagram to make you show you the atrium only here. Atrium. Below we will have the ventricle here now. Ventricle in front actually. In front we will have the ventricle. And here the cushioning, what was happening here, endocardial cushioning was happening here, and that endocardial cushioning was dividing the 2 chambers, 2 openings for right and left side here. By then now a small important change happens to the atrium here, So that changes formation of an interatrial septum. Listen carefully. Now I am talking about formation of interatrial septum. In the 6th week of development, before this, we will have, remember this is also not there, we will have a common primitive atrium which was connected by a sinus venosus. Initially it was wider. Now the same thing will in future, as it gets developed, the sinus venosum becomes very smaller. You can see here, smaller like this. Okay, such a wonderful thing happens here. Septum start developing from posterior superiorly. from posterior superiorly, and septum, this is an cut section, exactly cut like this here, to make aware of, to make see of this septum primum here. Okay, so and a layer of septum start growing from posterior superiorly towards the endocardial cushions over here. It all the way tries to close it here. Initially, in the 6th week of development, embryo is getting blood from the vitelline veins and all. Vitelline veins and all, they are connected to the primitive atrium. Primitive atrium, I was just showing you here. See here, this is the primitive atrium. Now the blood is these superior vena cava and the inferior vena cava, coronary sinus, and all these veins are now bringing blood, and they are just trying to push it towards the atrium, primitive atrium. Now I will show you the same thing here. What happens? Same blood is coming over here. Now heart has to divide this primitive atrium into 2 chambers. For that reason, this septum started here. Such septum is called as septum primum. Septum primum. This septum primum tries to completely close it. Okay, and by then, due to the accumulation of blood on right side from the superior vena cava, inferior vena cava, and the sinus venosus and all, okay, due to the presence of a wide opening over here, okay, it will not be able to close it. Even though it gives a small opening here, due to the pressure on this side, it pierces the septum and moves over here. So that there are some openings formed over here. Listen carefully, my dear students. Okay, in earlier stage there was an opening over here which is called as primary foramen. This septum was the septum primum. The opening which was present here is the foramina primum. Now here there are some fenestrations occurred here. The same fenestrations are shown in on coronal view, and here the vertical view here. So this was foramina primum, and this was foramina secundum appeared over here. Second foramina appeared here, and these small perforations joined together, they makes a large opening in the septum primum. The same way, heart has to close this opening. See here, by the 6th week, this sinoatrial orifice is also getting converted into a small slit by forming septum, this spurium and all. Okay, try to convert it. Okay, this interatrial septum primum also trying to get close with the endocardial cushionings. Okay, but was failed due to the formation of foramina primum here. Foramina primum. Okay. Now, by this time, another septum start developing towards the right side of septum primum here, which is now called as septum secundum. You see here, this grey colored structure was the septum primum. Are you understanding, my dear students? Are you all there?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Are you able to understand? This is very important topic, and this you should read it perfectly. So I'm just trying to make you alert over here. Formation of interatrial septum is very much important, so I'm just concentrating over here. Okay, it will be asked for you for long question, 10 mark, remember. For that reason I'm just concentrating here once again. Okay, so we formed so far septum primum, grey colored structure, and foramina primum was there. Then there was another opening formed here, that is foramina secundum formed here. So here we had foramina primum, and now here we have foramina secundum. By this time, this septum secundum tries to close this and grows all the way, again fails due to the accumulation of blood on the right side here. Okay, that has to be pushed over here. Okay, and then creates again an opening over here. You see here, blood is trying to move from right to left side here, because from here blood has to move to the ventricle. If not, from the right ventricle it has to go to the pulmonary trunk and the lung. Lungs are not functioning, my dear students. Lungs are still not functioning. 6th week development, I am telling you, 6th week. Lungs will start functioning only after birth. So blood will not at all move towards this side. Only small amount of blood may go for the nourishment, okay, but major amount of blood from the right atrium should cross towards the left side through the atrium only. It should bypass the pulmonary circulation. For that reason, blood from right atrium is moving towards the left atrium through another foramen, which is now called as foramina ovale. Foramina ovale. This foramina ovale is actually between a slit formed between septum secundum and septum secundum, septum primum and septum secundum, and foramina secundum. So between these all areas, okay, a slit is remained here. So such a slit is called as the foramina ovale. You might have heard about, or you might have seen in movies and all, or you know your relatives might be having a hole in heart. Have you heard? Anybody have heard about hole in heart? Does anybody heard about hole in heart?
Yes, sir.
This is nothing but, if you have heard about hole in the heart, that is nothing but this foramina ovale. Every one of us have this foramina ovale, remember, because for the development of septum primum, interatrial septum, we need to go with this procedure only. So every one of us have this foramina ovale as the birth occurs. This is actually in the 6th week of development I was telling you. As the birth occurs, okay, left side also blood will come from the lungs here. Respiration begins. Respiration, as it begins, automatically blood will even move towards the left side. So entry of blood on right side will be reduced here, and entry of blood towards the left side will be increased. So both side pressure equalizes. This septum secundum comes close to the, due to the pressure equalizing in both the chamber. Okay, these two septum will come close each other, and they just get zygosed and adhered each other, and they closes. So normally every one of us will have a foramina ovale. In as after the birth occurs, in the first week after birth, automatically this will get closed. Some individual, 1 or 2 individual, will remain with open of this. Okay, it is said that 8 to 10% of the newborn babies will remain this opening due to the pressure equal on both the side. Okay, they will not allow the blood to move from one side to other side here. So that is a great thing what is happening. Even though this hole is patent, okay, there is no possibility of movement of blood occurs here due to the pressure equalization over here. Okay, so right sided blood will go towards the ventricle, left sided blood will go towards the left ventricle as after the birth here. By this way, the interatrial septum is completely formed here. Now, as you have seen the heart interior already, how it appears in the interatrial septum of heart now. Same thing here, you are seeing this the septum secundum, and here you are seeing the septum primum. Okay, now this septum secundum, okay, is actually covering over here. So this covering here, you are seeing this boundary is appeared over here, okay, in the form of limbus fossa ovalis. While you saw interior of heart, you have seen on the right atrium limbus fossa ovalis, which is nothing but the margins of septum secundum. Similarly, you saw a depression over here. This is the depression. What you are seeing is nothing but the fossa ovalis. This fossa ovalis is formed by the septum primum. You see here septum primum. Between these two between these two, you will have a passage which is actually foramina oval. If any probe may be passed through this opening after birth, if you are able to pass a probe through this opening after birth, if you are able to pass, then it leads to a clinical condition called as probe patency. Probe patency, remember, where the probe can be passed here. Even though this connection is there, blood is not moving here due to the pressure equalization. Am I clear on this, my dear students? Any doubt here?
No, sir.
So interatrial septum development is clear?
Yes, sir.
Can you write on this for 10 mark? Same thing here, same appearance. Now in a better view. So here is the septum primum. Okay, here was the sinoatrial orifice. I was showing you right venous wall, left venous wall. Okay, and this leads to the septum spurium. I was telling you. Okay, these septum spurium and sinus septum, these all structures will be actually all the structures now getting enlarged and divides into three pieces like this: superior, intermediate and inferior part by presence of superior and inferior limbic bands here. Okay, will get divided into three parts. Okay, the superior part will get converted into crista terminalis. See, I am talking about the fate of sinus venosus and primitive atrium. Okay, so here it is forming crista terminalis. You have seen what is crista terminalis. I am not going to talk on that. Similarly, intermediate part will get converted into valve for inferior vena cava. Similarly, the lower sinus septum, this particular part will get converted into valve for coronary sinus. You have seen already inferior vena cava and the coronary sinus have been guarded by some of the valves. These valves are nothing but the small slits developed from the sinus venorum. So these all things we have seen in posterior smooth part or sinus venorum over here. Okay, in the same diagram you can see over here the septum secundum is formed, septum primum over here, and the foramina ovale is also clearly visible in this picture. Now you can see on the right side visa, connection of a superior vena cava, inferior vena cava and coronary sinus have come over here. Okay, they formed the posterior part of the right atrium has been formed by sinus venorum over here. Same thing in case of left atrium, we will have pulmonary veins coming from the lung over here. These pulmonary veins, initially it will be single. This single situated pulmonary vein will get divided into two pulmonary veins, one for the right side and one for the left side, and they get dispersed towards right and left side over here, and each one of them further get divided into two on each side. So those parts again further divides into two pulmonary veins. We have seen two pulmonary veins coming from each lung, right and left lung, towards the left ventricle here. So whole of this area has been joined by four pulmonary veins in the left ventricle. So the posterior part of the left atrium is now formed by the sinus venorum itself and the pulmonary vein itself. On the right side also we saw the sinus venorum. It was forming the openings for the superior vena cava, coronary sinus and inferior vena cava. Now we are seeing the formation of pulmonary veins. Okay, the same thing here. This is a single pulmonary vein and now getting doubled, and now the same thing is again getting multiplied into four openings over here. In this way, pulmonary veins are formed, okay, and the blue color is indicating that that particular part of the left atrium is formed by the sinus venorum. Left atrium is formed by sinus venosum. I am talking. So sinus venorum is forming the posterior part of right and left, both the atriums. Okay. To conclude, how does the definitive atrium is formed? Now look at the right atrium. It's a rough part. Rough part was actually the anterior part, and even the auricle, which is formed by right half of primitive atrium. Right side the primitive atrium is forming here. Same thing, it is also formed by right half of atrioventricular canal. Atrioventricular canal I was showing you, between atrium and ventricle, a small canal, the orifice I was telling you. So which also involved in the completion of right atrium. And smooth posterior part is formed by the absorbed right horn of sinus venosus, which was actually connected with the superior vena cava, inferior vena cava, and coronary sinus. That particular part is here. So if I ask you in viva, how does the right atrium formed, you should tell these three things. Number one, right half of primitive atrium. Number two, right half of atrioventricular thickening or cushion or atrioventricular canal, and third part is smooth part of that is posterior smooth part is formed by the right horn of sinus venosum. Am I clear on this?
Yes, sir.
What about others? Are you able to understand?
Yes, sir.
Okay, nice. Same thing now, listen carefully. If you are not aware so far, left atrium, how it is formed, you can easily identify now. Right half was actually forming the right atrium. Similarly, here you will have left half of primitive atrium will form the left atrium. Similarly, left half of atrioventricular canal, and even the smooth posterior part is formed by the absorbed part of pulmonary veins. I was showing you the 4 pulmonary veins, how they are formed here. So they all together forms the posterior smooth part of left atrium. So this is how the right and left atrium gets developed here. Okay. Now let us see the interventricular septum development. Interventricular septum. When we were having a development of this septum spurium and the septum primum and all, okay, at the same time, okay, we will have a development of interventricular septum also. Usually these ventricles are formed by bulbous cardis and primitive ventricle. As we saw, atrium were formed by primitive atrium and sinus venorum. Okay, here it is formed by the ventricles are formed by bulbous cardis and the primitive ventricle here, not only by the primitive ventricle, remember, or not only by the primitive atrium. They have been contributed even by neighboring parts of that. Neighboring part in the atrium was sinus venorum, and in the ventricle it was bulbous cardis. So these two, between the bulbous cardis, mostly it is said that the right ventricle is mostly formed by the bulbous cardis, the left ventricle is mostly formed by the primitive ventricle, bulbous cardis and primitive ventricle. Exactly in between them, okay, we will have a formation of the interventricular septum. This interventricular septum is formed by 3 important contributions. One is the muscular part, another one is the membranous part, and third one is the bulbar ridges. Okay, these bulbar ridges, the first one, the muscular part, I will show you. You can see in this diagram. Okay, this is the muscular septum, interventricular septum, muscular part, which usually grows from inferior superiorly, from below upwards. on the right side, in the atrium we saw from above downwards. Now we are seeing from below upwards, because here we have a strong wall. So in attachment with this, the interventricular septum starts growing towards upwards over here. This is the muscular part here. By the same time, okay, we will have a formation of, already I was telling you about the septum intermedium. This is the septum intermedium which is getting formed over here. Okay, this septum intermedium, when it is developing, it will try to close the area between two ventricles and area between right atrium and right ventricle and area between left atrium and left ventricle. So in such a way, this will try to close this area and this area and this area. So this septum intermedium becomes an important part over here. If this septum intermedium is not formed, that will definitely lead to many complications. Blood from right side may go towards the left ventricle, right atrium towards left atrium, I'm telling you, or from right ventricle to left ventricle itself it can go. So it is having direct connections. So this is the part which is actually segregating each of the chambers over here. Okay, that is intermediate, septum intermedium is going to form here. Okay, the membranous part is the one which develops at the end. Okay, in between the septum intermedium and the muscular septum. So there we will have a membranous septum which completely closes and divides the two ventricles over here. Okay, if you see the development of definite ventricle, you can see here the right ventricle is formed by inflow part and outflow part. There are two parts we see in the ventricles. Inflow part is actually formed by proximal part of bulbus cordis. I told you, I was already telling you bulbus cordis, and right part of primitive ventricle, small right part of primitive ventricle is involved here. Outflow part is it is actually formed by the truncus arteriosus, what we say, truncus arteriosus. It is a part of bulbus cordis. The conus part of bulbus cordis is involved in the formation of outflow part of the right ventricle here. Similarly, in the left ventricle, we can see which is formed by inflow part is formed by the left part of primitive ventricle, and outflow part is formed by the similar conus of the bulbus cordis. I was telling you in the previous class, bulbus cordis is having proximal, intermediate and distal three parts. So the proximal and intermediate part is conus part, is involved in the formation of left ventricle here. Similarly on the right ventricle here. Okay, so this is how the definitive ventricles are formed here. Okay, this is another diagram to just make you aware. This is the bulbus cordis. The proximal part, intermediate part, and the distal part. Proximal part, the intermediate part was conus, and the distal part was truncus arteriosus. So this truncus arteriosus is now actually forms a long tube over here. Can you see this long tube appearance here? So this long tube will get divided by two intermediate septums. You are seeing the same septums coming over here. Okay, so these septums, they try to close this. Okay, and when they are trying to close this here, you see here the complete separation has occurred here. It is actually called as conotruncal septum. Conus, I told you, truncus arteriosus here. See, this was the conus I was telling you, and this is truncus arteriosus I was telling you. So these two together, okay, here you can see conotruncal septum is developed. It is actually a spiral septum. So this spiral septum all the way get twisted. You see this twisting over here, okay, and segregates the singly situated bulbus cordis into now right and left two parts here. Okay, you are able to clearly differentiate this two spirally arranged structures here. This will lead to form the pulmonary trunk and aorta. Remember, this spiraled bulbous cardis, which are separated by an conotruncal septum, will lead to form the aorta and pulmonary trunk. You see here, this is the right ventricle, which is connected with the pulmonary trunk. The blue arrow mark is showing the pulmonary trunk. Initially, the pulmonary trunk is lying in front. Later on, it lies towards the left side, and then it lies posteriorly. The red line is indicating, red arrow is indicating the aorta, ascending aorta, which is lying initially behind posteriorly, then lies by the right side of pulmonary trunk, and then lies in front of pulmonary trunk, takes us spiraling around. By this way, we will have a formation of arch of aorta and pulmonary trunk while the ventricles are forming here. See here, while these ventricles are forming, automatically the spiraled septum itself divided the pulmonary trunk and arch of aorta. So this the atrioventricular cushioning is still forming here, By then the septation has occurred here to collect the blood from the respective areas. Okay, so this is the 7th week development what we see here. Okay, the same thing you can see over here. You can see the same thing here, spiraling the aortic and the pulmonary trunk. This thing here, I was telling you initially, if you take a cut section of pulmonary trunk in the proximal part, intermediate part and distal part, you will have the appearance like this. This is proximal part, front and behind pulmonary trunk and the arch of aorta are there, aorta, ascending aorta. In the intermediate part, we will have pulmonary trunk on left, aorta on right side. Similarly, the aorta comes in front in the distal part, pulmonary trunk goes behind now. Okay, respectively. So by all these changes, by the time of all these changes happens here, this two trunks are getting separated like this. You are seeing the truncoconal ridges have separated like this. By then, we had a muscular septum, we had the endocardial cushion over here, the intermediate septum, what I was telling you, and the membranous structure develops over here. Okay, that closes the interventricular groove over here. Okay, this is the truncus arteriosus. How does it converts into the conus arteriosus and truncus arteriosus are now getting converted into aorta and pulmonary trunk. Okay. This is just brief about the valves, how they form here. Okay, these valves already I told you here. The endocardial cushioning occurs. I told you the 4 different bulging occurs over here. I told you, and they reduces the wide area into smaller area. Then they get segregated into 2 different openings, atrioventricular openings. Okay, and similarly, valves are formed here. These are the few specimens I just would like to show you. You will be asked in your Viva Voce examination. This is the model which is present in our department to show you the development of interatrial septum, interventricular septum, and the septum spurium and all. You can see all those things over here. You can see the septum, foramina secundum over here. This is actually the foramina ovale further. Okay, septum secundum, you can see the septum intermedium is visible here, and here we'll have the membranous part developing. So the same thing in another model. So these all models will be kept for you in Viva Voce examination. Finally, to conclude the topic, truncus arteriosus was the part of bulbus cardis, will lead to formation of ascending aorta and pulmonary trunk. Bulbus cardis will lead to form smooth upper part of the right ventricle, that is conus arteriosus. smooth upper part of left ventricle. So both right and left ventricles are formed here. Major part is going to form the right ventricle over here. Primitive ventricle will form the right and left ventricle over here. Trabeculated part of the right and left ventricle will be formed. Primitive atrium is going to form right and left atrium. Okay, the smooth part, smooth posterior part is formed by smooth posterior part of right and left atrium is formed by the sinus venerum over here. Coming directly to the, actually I wanted to talk you on development of pericardium. It takes some time again. I'm just skipping that. I will directly come to the applied anatomy. I was already telling you about the probe patency applied anatomy. First I'll talk on atrial septal defects. Atrial septal defects. Okay, when the interatrial septum is having some defect, so these all changes can happen. So first one is probe patency of foramina ovale, then persistent foramina secundum, then prenatal closure of foramina ovale, then persistent foramina primum. Okay, so in these conditions, the first one, probe patency of foramina ovale, I was already telling you. Okay, when the probe can be passed through the foramina ovale, okay, that leads to the condition called as probe patency I was telling you. But in this case, many a time there is no transmission of blood happening here. Okay, that is persistent foramina secundum. So in this case, the foramina secundum is kept completely open without closure of this septum secundum here. So this leads to small blood from this right side may go to the left side. Okay, that is foramina secundum. Prenatal closure. See, this closure was occurring here already. This closure was actually happening due to the accumulation of blood here. It was not able to close. There were some foramina formed here. So during this case, if in prenatal time, if the blood, if the septum is closed, that leads to a difficult condition where actually blood is unable to move towards the left side, Okay, baby will survive, for embryo will survive for a very few days. Okay, after birth immediately it may go for die, and ventricular development will not at all take place because blood is not at all going to the, especially the left side. Left atrium and left ventricle will not be grown up properly. Okay, this is due to prenatal closure. Okay. Similarly, another important thing here I should tell you about is the ventricular septal defect. Here I was talking on atrial septal defect. This is ASD. Here it is called as VSD, ventricular septal defect. If this membranous part, many a time if it does not fuses, okay, that leads to opening of the opening between the right and left ventricle is definitely leading to mixture of oxygenated and deoxygenated blood over here. Okay, that will lead to cyanosis and all, may lead to many of the complications. Similarly, transposition of great vessels. Truncus arteriosus was going for a spiraling. Okay, if this spiraling does not happen, the pulmonary trunk is directly connected with the, see the dangerous thing what is happening here. Okay, the pulmonary trunk is directly connected to the left ventricle and aorta is connected to the right ventricle. So deoxygenated blood is shifted towards the body and oxygenated blood is moving towards the lung here. So this is transposition of the major vessels here. Okay, another important applied aspect is Pallad's tetralogy. This will be asked for you in Viva or in theory, or many times you'll find cases of these all things. Okay, this will have 4 different characters. Pulmonary stenosis. The pulmonary trunk is actually compressed over here. It is unable to collect blood over here. The first symptom. Second one is displacement of aortic orifice to the right side. Aorta is actually on left side here, but it has been displaced towards the right side over here. So collecting blood from both right and left ventricle over here. So there is a deficiency of the ventricular septum here. So that will lead to patent interventricular foramen. So this foramen is open now, and which will lead to overload. Since the stenosis of pulmonary trunk has happened here, okay, there is a overload on right ventricle, so hypertrophy of right ventricle happen here. So these all four conditions will lead to Fallett's tetralogy. So that completes the development of heart. I don't know, I was a bit hurried today because I wanted to complete many things. Try to read today itself. Okay, if you find any difficulties, please approach me. Please approach. Any doubts?
No, sir.
No, did you understood something?
Yes, sir.
Was it? Actually, it is very, very important. Development of heart is very, very, very important. Try to read it once again. Huh?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.